Good morning. This is September the 25th, Wednesday 2024. We are in BBIS first semester compulsory English class, and this is the third class of the semester. Can you tell me what we did in the previous class? Just one thing. Remember one thing we did in the previous class and tell me.
Types of argument.
Okay, we read about types of argument. Okay. What else did we do in the previous class?
We talked about types of arguments, about arguments,
Besides types of argument, what else did we talk?
components.
I don't think we talked about okay, yes, we talked about types of argument. Proposal arguments, supposition arguments versus problem solution arguments. What else did we do last class in English class?
We did mode of
writing.
And this was about argumenting.
Okay, and we had argument. Okay, fine. What did we do in the previous class? Were you present in the class? Okay, tell me, what did we do in the previous class? Huh? Abortion? Oh, that was an example I gave about argument. Okay. Tell us what we did in the previous English class. We learned modes of writing. What else? Okay. I talked about the 6 or 7 elements of argument in the previous class, I remember. I talked about the components of argument in the previous class. Tell, what are these components? What is the first component of the argument? What is the first element in an argument? What's your name?
I'm Yusuf. I'm Yusuf.
Pardon?
Yusuf.
Yusuf. Okay. What's your name?
Angshu.
Angshu, tell us what is the first element of an argument?
Conflict. Conflict.
Context,
Context.
not conflict. What is context? What does context involve? What is your name? If you don't answer my question, you are being recorded, and I track it. I track it. Who answered, who didn't answer it, to evaluate you. Okay? I'm very particular. Okay. What is first is context. Mind the wire as you walk in. What is the second element of an argument?
Claim.
Claim. Okay. Claim. What is a claim?
Claim is something when an author writes about a particular situation and she gives a reason about basis on evidence. And
Okay, a claim is an assertion or a statement which is either true or false. Okay, what is the third element of an argument?
Reason.
Reason. Okay. If I say, don't eat noodles, claim. Give me a reason. You said to me, Divakar sir, please do not eat noodles. And I said, why?
Because noodles is a junk food.
Okay, because noodle is junk food. That's a good reason. Okay. So we have context, we have claim, we have reason. What is the fourth element in an argument?
Evidence.
Evidence. Okay, I said to her, or she said to me, Divakar sir, please do not eat noodles. I asked her why. And then she said, they are junk food. Give me evidence that noodles are junk food.
Noodles contain high calories. That's why.
That's not evidence. You say, Divakar sir, didn't you read the article by Aruna Upreti in this today's Kantipur?
So that can be considered.
That's an evidence.
Sir.
Evidence, wait a minute. Evidence is the place where you see the reason. She said, noodles are junk food. Now I'm not sure if they're junk food. Now he's saying, why don't you read Kantipur paper today? So evidence are hard. A photograph is an evidence. An article is an evidence. Evidence is something that you can examine with the 5 senses. If you can hear, that's an evidence. If you can touch and feel, that's an evidence. If you can smell, that's an evidence. If you can taste and say it's salty, that's an evidence. If you can see, that's an evidence. Evidence means sensory evidence. Something that you can verify with your senses. Evidence is something that is based on your experience. If I say there is soul, and you say, give me evidence. Now it's difficult because soul is outside the five senses. So you will say, no sir, I am a materialist, not a spiritualist like you, so I don't believe there is a soul. So for us, evidence will be something that you can examine with the five senses. Are you clear? Okay. So last time we talked about the elements of argument. Fine. Almost everything makes an argument. For example, when you see me in this dress, very formally dressed, right? I made sure that my tie matches in color with my coat. I made sure that my shirt contrasts in color with my tie. I made sure that I have done my hair properly. Now, when you look at this teacher, you might feel that this teacher, this English teacher, believes in being very formally dressed in class. So this teacher believes that a teacher, when they come in class, they shouldn't come in informal dress. They should be in formal dress. This is a viewpoint. This is a view. This is a view. View about teacher's dress. What view? They should be formally dressed. And such views are arguments. Such views are arguments. For example, can I see your earbuds? You were showing me earlier. Can I see it? I'll make a point. What's your name? Ayush. Okay. So I borrowed from Ayush. So Ayush carries this. You call pods, right? Pods? I don't know what to call them. What do you call this? Ear pods? I don't know. Anything. So Ayush carries this. So it makes a view about technology. You can say Ayush is techno savvy. So he uses latest kind of things. Or you could say Ayush likes music. So he doesn't want to miss any moment. You expressed a view about Ayush based on this item. That view is your argument. That view is your argument. So broadly speaking, any view expressed by anybody about anything is an argument. I repeat, in broad sense, not in narrow sense, an argument is a view that someone has or makes about someone or something. In the narrow sense, argument is a claim someone makes. For example, if I take these, sorry to disturb you time and again. For example, if I say, you should not use these pods, claim. Then you say, no Divakar, sir, we like it, we love listening to music and these are that technology. I spent 1,000 rupees, why are you saying don't use? Then I say, because they cause very high radiation. As you place them in your ear, they get heated. The hotter they become, the more radiation they emit. And this radiation can cause growth of brain tumor, and it can cause even brain cancer. In many cases, these pods burst while you are listening, causing death. So it's not a good idea to use pods. You should use traditional earphone that has a long, what do you call, thread, I don't know the word. Wire. So what am I doing? I am making an argument against the use of the pots. The second example is argument in the narrow sense, or not narrow, argument in the explicit sense. Arguments are two types. Implicit, not said directly, but you understand. Explicit, said directly. An explicit argument is one where the claim is made directly, you understand clearly. An implicit argument is one where the claim is hinted, but it is not expressed directly. So not everybody can catch it. Okay, so I said almost everything is an argument. Then I said a view is an argument. There is a word called viewpoint. As I stand here, for example, I have a frontal viewpoint. I see only the front part of the body from here. I have a frontal viewpoint. But if I walk down there at the back of the class and then look at you, now I have a rear viewpoint. Now I have a rear viewpoint. Now, if I further down, walk and change my position and come here, now I have a sideways viewpoint. Now I have a sideways viewpoint. Nowadays you have 360 camera, right? It has all the viewpoint. Now, that's about material meaning, where another meaning of viewpoint is, my last name is Aryal. I'm Brahmin. I was born in a Brahmin family. My father, when he raised me, he taught me the practices of Brahmin people. I was initiated into learning on the day of Basanta Panchami in 2032 Bikram Samvat 2007. My mother fasted for a month regularly, and at the culmination of the fasting, my mother's 1 month fasting, there was a big puja at my home on Basant Panchami day. Brahmins were called, and my father fed delicious food to so many Brahmins. And there I remember, he made me stand up like this. I was wearing yellow dress, and he handed one book in my hand, chanting mantra. And he said, from today, I initiate you into learning. You are the son of a Brahmin, you will study. And I knew the value of learning. I'm explaining you another meaning of viewpoint. Second meaning of viewpoint is your cultural position. First meaning of viewpoint is your geographical position, right? That's not so important for us. That is important only for the camera person, where the camera is, right? Angle. For us, the meaning of viewpoint will be not location, but cultural location. What? Cultural location. And by this, when I say viewpoint means cultural location, I mean when you grow in a particular culture, gradually you acquire the cultural practices, you acquire cultural beliefs, you acquire cultural values, and you become a type of person, right? And when you meet somebody who is not from your culture, from some another culture, then you may wonder that their practices, when you look at them, their practices seem odd to you. Long ago, I went to a tea shop at Kirtipur, and the shop owner was a Newar lady. I reached the shop around 5 in the morning, and she came in the shop with an egg. She worshipped God, and she offered the egg to the idol. I was surprised, shocked. I said to her in Nepali, how come you can offer an egg to God? That's not good. Then, no, we do that in our culture, we offer. Then, few days after, it was month of Shravana Bhadra, it was, I don't know the festival. I saw it was Ganesh Puja. They had big mounds of, I don't know, food items. On top, they placed a big fish. I said, oh God, how can you bring meat when you worship God? Look, what is happening? I came from a culture where Brahmins do not eat meat and do not bring meat at home in my family. And I saw meat being offered to Lord Ganesha. For me, Ganesha is vegetarian God. For them, Ganesha was non-vegetarian God. It was shocking. Why? Because my cultural viewpoint and their cultural viewpoint differed. Got my point? Okay. I made you understand the meaning of argument. I said we will define argument as viewpoint. Then I said the word viewpoint has two meanings. One, physical geographical location. Right now I have frontal viewpoint. Then I said that's not the meaning for us. Be clear. Then what is the meaning? For us, viewpoint will be your cultural identity, your cultural location, your cultural values, your cultural assumptions. I have a tough question. Please raise your hand in this class if there is somebody, take the question easy, who doesn't observe the touchable rules during menstruation at home. When you have menstruation, if you don't avoid touching, you touch everything, raise your hand. Okay, you don't observe that untouched, right? Okay. In my family, okay. In my family, it's other way. When women in my family get menstruation period, for 5 days, they won't walk everywhere. They won't come in the puja room, for example. They won't touch vegetables, for example. They won't cook, for example. They won't touch other men, for example. This is a cultural value. This is a cultural value. And this is a viewpoint. You may disagree. You may say, Divakar sir, you are narrow-minded, you are conservative. Fine, no problem. But that's my cultural value, which I observe. That's a viewpoint. So, for these two girls, menstruation is sacred. Fine, there's nothing wrong with it. For a person like me, a conservative fellow, menstruation is not pure, it's impurity. I'm sorry, I want to make you understand something. So from my cultural viewpoint, or let's say from the cultural viewpoint of a conservative Brahmin, menstruation is impurity. From the cultural viewpoint of today's progressive young girls, menstruation is okay, fine, it's not impurity. That's argument. So argument is cultural viewpoint. Now, having made you understand this much, now let me tell you that in this class today, we are going to read a story. We are going to read a story. Okay? Story. Another word to denote a story is called narrative. Narrative. Narrative is both noun as well as, I guess, adjective, not sure. The word narrative comes from the verb narrate. And to narrate means to tell. To narrate means to tell. So stories are what people tell us. Stories are what people tell us. I was in class 2 and we lived inside a compound. My father was a college principal. I was in class 2. I was barely 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't remember. And then a young girl of my age used to walk in the compound sometimes and we would play. I didn't have a sister at my home, so I liked the girl because in her I could see a female figure. Then we would play. What games we'll play? We'll play various games. And then one game would be skipping. Then one day her mother came. She boxed her ears and she pulled her arms and he hung her. And she said, "Nalayak, badmas, ladkon ke saath khelti hai," and she slapped. And she took her home. After that day, the girl never came in my compound. I still miss her. Her name was Rekha. So I told you a story. I told you a story. It was a real story from my life experience. And did you observe? I used past tense while telling the story. So narratives often, but not always, are told in past form. Because stories are based on experience, and experience is always from the past. Stories are based on experience, and experience is always from the past. So stories are in past. Now, as we read a story, okay, so let's read it here. Every lesson in the book New Directions has an introduction to the author and the text, a very brief. It's helpful to read that introduction before we move ahead. So here it is. The following story, a cover published in 1933, mark it, by the Indian writer Prem Chand, who was born 1881-1936, focuses on a particular type of intra-cultural variation in India, caste system. There's a word intercultural and intracultural. Intracultural means inside a single culture, within one culture. Intercultural means from one culture to another culture. So this story focuses on intracultural variation. And what is that? The caste system. So many of Hindus, like me or like others, might believe in 4 divisions of caste: Brahmin, Vaishya, Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Though from progressive viewpoint, such caste division is not good. We shouldn't believe in such divisions. Okay. So this story is about caste system. Now we know. The story we are going to read now is about what? Caste system. Okay. And its effects on people's lives. Look, second, this story is about effect of caste on people's lives. See, I was in class 7 and a girl fell in love with me. Not me first, because she saw my paintings. It took me 6 months to talk to her, and the affair ended immature within a year. Why? Because when I was in love with her, that girl, I did my best so that nobody knows in the world. In the world, only we two knew. Even the people in the class didn't know. We kept so secret. The biggest worries I had was lest my father should know. My father was a campus chief, very famous personality in that area in India. And we were Brahmins. We were highly respected by society in those days. My father practiced all Brahminic rituals. And people knew that I was his son. Everybody knew me. They said, "Aap Guruji ke ladke hain?" I said, "Yes." My father was called Guruji. And the big question that came to my mind, if I marry this girl whose last name was Patel. Patel are Kshatriya people in India. What will happen to image of my father? This was the question that always came to my mind. What will society think about my father? Every time I did everything in my life before 20, when I was with my father, I always asked the question, what would this action do to my father's image? I repeat, until the age of 20, even when I ate a tiffin or breakfast in the market, I'll ask a question, oh, I'm eating this item. If somebody sees me eating this item and my father knows, what will happen? As a result, I never went near those shops which sold non-vegetarian foods. I'll walk 20 meters away. Even the smell of an egg being fried made me vomit. I worried, what will my father think? My father was a very big figure in my life. And everything, even my thoughts, were controlled by my father. Because even if I thought about sex, the first question came, oh, what will my father think if he knows? Once in an exhibition, I bought a book. It was titled A to Z About Sex. It was a 10-rupee book. I was 17, 18. I went to the shop. Over there was a book. I didn't have courage to go near. I went, oh, that's the book. I looked around. Is anybody watching me? I waited for a while. Thought nobody watching me. Quickly dropped the money and got the book. Grabbed it and wrapped it. So nobody knows it. And the first question came, what would my father think if he knew I'm reading something about sex? I came home and I tried my best to hide the book. Every night I'll read the book and every morning I will change the place of the book so that my father doesn't know. I repeat, my father was a big overshadowing figure in my life. I'm telling this thing to make you understand that in the story we are going to read, we have a father, traditional father, conservative father, narrow-minded father, a Brahmin who sticks to caste system. And his son falls in love with a Banya girl. His son falls in love with a Banya girl. So this is a story about intercaste love and its consequences. Now, I won't teach you further. Do you have the book with you? No. So here is another warning. I have already mailed you the soft copies, right? And if you came to my class tomorrow without the printed hard copy of the story I'm teaching, it will be down there. I mailed you soft copies about 4 or 5 days before. I remember. They are in mailbox, group mail. Find them, print them, and when you come to class, come with a hard copy. We need that. Look, right now I said, I want you to read. Right now, I wanted you to read for 30 minutes. Now I can't do that, right? So I'll read. So we said, this story is about caste system. The theme, caste system, and its effect on people's lives, right? And I said, it's about intercaste love. It's about intercaste. And you know what happens in intercaste love? Okay, let me know if you are so frank. This may be difficult. If you're frank enough, I want to know if anybody has parents who had intercaste marriages, and I want to talk to them. I want to find students in this classroom who have intercaste parents, and I want to talk to them about this experience in their family. Please, if you are frank, share with us if you have your parents who have intercaste marriage, love marriage, and I want you to share one question. Do you think your parents' intercaste marriage was smooth, is smooth, or do you think it is rough and full of friction? Anybody? If you have parents who have intercaste marriage, please, I request you to share with us your experience as you observe your parents. Are your mom and dad who are intercaste marriage, are they having good relation or are they having difficult relation? Many times people tell me they have good relation. Sometimes I hear students telling me they have difficult relation. Have you heard about Malvika Subba? I won't hesitate to name her on camera because once I read Malvika Subba's interview where she said that her life is difficult because she has intercaste marriage. Malvika Subba had a love marriage with a Limbu guy from Dharan. And I don't know if she's divorced now, I'm not sure. But in the media we read that Malvika faced discrimination in the family. The Limbu people, oh no, not Limbu, Newar I guess. She was Limbu, Newar. Her husband was Newar. And the Newar family did not accept her in the family. They won't invite her in cultural festivals, for example. And now I read that Malvika does not live with her husband. Look, such a celebrity. And she says that it's because of intercaste. Because the family of the boy didn't accept this fact. So you see, though theoretically one would say that what's in the caste, I agree. But it's easy to say what's in the caste. But when you have to practice, it's not that easy to observe that. Right? You may disagree with me because you are young people, you are progressive. Okay, let me if I see where do we, this is a new brand. Okay, is it here? Where do we show my screen? The gentleman. Okay, this model of the smart board is different than the one I have been using. In other classes I use Horian brand and this is another one, so I'm not familiar. Okay. So I said it's about caste system, its impact on people. Now you can easily guess. I was saying that, normally, not often, in a conservative society like India and Nepal, intercaste love affairs are not very welcome. Though now times are changing. People's opinions are changing. Your views about love, marriage, sex is changing. I agree. But still, the outgoing generation, our parent generation, is not so comfortable with intercaste love and marriage. Now let's move and read the story. The first thing in studies is, reading. Whatever subject. Economics, my favorite subject. I read. I'll make notes, headings, subheadings, points, exceptions, and I'll get them by heart. Any subject you should read. Reading means hold the book and literally read. If you're alone, read aloud. If somebody's there, read silent, but read. Let's read. So I want you to read this loudly, this first paragraph. From here to here. Read aloud. Sit down and read. In our class, no formality, okay? Let's be informal. Read aloud.
The boy's name was Kesar, the girl's Prema. They went to the same college and they were in the same class. Kesar believed in new ways and was opposed to the old caste customs. Prema adhered to old order and fully accepted the traditions.
Okay. So this is a narrative. I said this is a narrative, and please, I request you, as I explain you, please do not talk between yourselves, among yourselves, because, you can't predict when I lose my temper. You can't predict when my temper swings. If I see that you are ignoring me, I'm unimaginably angry. I lose my temper. If I see that I am teaching with full dedication and ignoring me, I feel bad. Okay. In a story, stories have elements, components. If you know these components, you will read stories academically. For example, right here, we have Kesab and we have Prema. So they are characters. They are characters, right? They are characters. A story has characters. We'll note down. I wrote it here because it can come anywhere in chronology. Okay. Then they went to same college. This college is place. This college is place. And place comes under setting. You know, when they make films, for example, they create artificial setting, right? They call setting. They make houses, they film there, right? They shoot. Setting. So setting involves a place. We have college, right? Same class. Now, Kesab believed in ways and was opposed to the old caste system. Now, characters have values. Characters have values. They have their cultural values, cultural assumptions, right? Then, now here we have caste system. A story has theme. And right now we know the theme. The theme is caste system. Another word to use here is issue. Issue. Another word is problem. The problem or the issue or the theme in this story is caste system. Now, Prema adhere to the old order. Look here. Kesab opposed to old ways. Prema dedicated to old ways, no problem. That's why you need traditional thing, right? Look, technology. Do you see, when difficult time comes, old things work for us. So do not discard an old friend because you have a new friend, right? When your new friend deceives you, it's the old friend always there. Okay. So, Kesab is opposed to old traditions. Prema follows old traditions. So do you see the boy in the story and the girl in this story? The boy opposes old traditions. The girl follows old traditions. This is very remarkable. In most narratives, this thing happens. This is called tension in the story. And tension is a very fundamental element in any narrative. Life is full of tension. Why? Because you want one thing, your situation dictates another thing. Right? So, okay. So I said, the boy, Kesab, opposes old traditions. The girl Prema follows old traditions. Now we have two opposites. Where there are two opposites, there is tension. There is tension. Another word for tension is conflict. Another word for tension is conflict. Conflict comes from a Latin word. The word, English word conflict, comes from Latin. And conflict means not compatible. Not compatible. You two, from tomorrow you can't sit here because your habits don't match. You don't like. Now you are not compatible. For example, you are, I agree. For example. So conflict means not able to go together. Not able to go together. And remember that every story develops from the basic element of conflict. Conflict is the heart of a story. You cannot write a story if you cannot think of a conflict. If no tension, no story. If no conflict, no story. You watch movies, right? You watch movies. Do you see in almost every movie there is tension? Some kind of tension. Some kind of conflict. So here we have a conflict of what? Conflict is, look here, person versus tradition. You know, if we did not have caste system in Hindu culture, I would have married Babita Srivastava, with whom I fell in love in grade 12. She was in 9. The affair lasted 1 year and died immature because of caste system. The big question that came to my mind, if I marry a Srivastava girl, what will happen to social prestige of my father? So, I ditched her in the name of my father's prestige. Right? My father stood in front of me like Mount Everest. I could climb first camp, I could climb second camp, but when I reached the Hillary Bend, that was the turning point. Father will say either or, either or, either the girl or us. Then I'll climb down. I'll say no, you should be there, not the girl. Conflict. Person, son and daughter, son and father. Son and father. In one story, very famous story, I'll recommend you to read. A very world famous novel. A novel that is taught in economics degrees, classes. A novel by Daniel Defoe named Robinson Crusoe. In that novel, in the very beginning chapter, there is a 19-year-old son like you, who is very rebellious, very adventurous, who always says opposite to what a father says. Then daddy says one day to his son, don't go out, stay home, get some business, open a shop, stay in this village, do it some here. And he's like you. He says, no daddy, why should I stay in your village? Why should I do business in Nepal? No, I'll go outside Australia. And one day, he steals himself in a ship. He boards the ship without telling the people. And he doesn't know where the ship is going. He has no idea. And that ship meets a wreck in the middle of the ocean, and he is overthrown in an island where there is no second person. He spends 20-30 years in that island alone, and he creates his own kingdom. A wonderful story. Why? And the story teaches, if you challenge your father, this is what happens. The moral of the story is, if you challenge your father, you will be thrown on an island. Actually, that story is teaching, do not challenge God the Father. The message of the story is, do not challenge God who is Father with capital F. If Father is written in capital F, it refers to God, the Father of Jesus Christ. Father of Jesus Christ. It is in capital F. All fathers with small lowercase f are our fathers. The father with uppercase is Father Jesus Christ. So do not challenge father. I could not challenge my father. If I could have challenged him, I would have married Babita. Right? Okay. I'm telling my story. Wait a minute. Because we're reading a story, right? And why I'm telling these stories? I'm telling you these stories to make you understand this story. Because I'm showing you this story has conflict. What? Conflict. And I said, here is a conflict between a father and son. A father and son. Kesav's father is a Pandit, conservative Pandit, who believes in caste system. When Prema's father goes to Kesav's father with a proposal saying that your son is in love with my daughter. How can you be in love with the daughter? I'm mad, he says. He bangs the ground. And he says, get out! Get out! How can you even imagine your daughter, the Banya girl, in love with my son, the Brahmin? Prema's father cannot bear this insult. And he returns back. And you can imagine how Prema might have felt when she saw her father with the bent head coming home with full insult. One twist in the story. So, we read about character, conflict, theme, setting. Now, let's move ahead and see what else is there. Okay. Because this is a new thing I'm using every time. Where do we change the screen? Okay. I'll go the traditional way. Plug it out, plug it in. Right? This is what learning by doing, learning by experimenting. Okay, here we are. Over there I have another screen. There I have another screen. Let me try. Learning by trial, okay? Okay. This one has another system. Okay, now I want you to read the paragraph loudly and listen, class, listen.
But all the same, there was a strong attachment between them and the whole college was aware of it. Although he was a Brahmin, Keshav regarded marriage with this Banya girl as the culmination of his life. He didn't care a straw about his father and mother. Caste tradition he considered a fraud. If anything embodied the truth for him, it was Prema. But for Prema, it was impossible to take one step in opposition to the dictates of caste and family.
Okay. So I won't spend much time explanation right now. I'll move it quickly. So you see attachment, fine. We read that there was attachment, emotional attachment between the two. It's very natural because when you are young, it's natural, right? Then college was aware, right? Now he was Brahmin, and look, see this is called contrast marker. This is called contrast marker. And when a sentence begins with although, you know that there are two opposite ideas coming together. Although Brahmin regarded marriage as with this Banya girl, culmination of his life. Banya, you can compare Indian Banya community with Newar community. They are business people. They are business people. He didn't care a straw about his father. So funny. In the beginning we read like that. But as you move ahead, you will see what happens when the father stands out. His father is like a mountain. Our parents are like mountain made him, right? If we don't have courage to stand against them, right? Okay. Caste traditions he considered a fraud. If anything embodied the truth for him, it was Prema. When you fall in love, your boyfriend is the ultimate truth for you, right? Your girlfriend is your ultimate truth for you at this young age. Okay. But for Prema, it was impossible to take one step in. Look here. For Keshav, caste was fraud. He was ready to marry. But for Prema, it was impossible to take one step in opposition to dictates of caste and family. Let me tell you one thing. In narration, a story begins in a very normal way. Stories open with a normal situation. A young boy and a young girl, friends, in love. Very normal thing. There is no surprise. And the story begins with the normal, and then there is something that breaks this normalcy. There is something that breaks this normalcy. And that something is opposing values of this boy and girl. Prema is dedicated to her parents. Her parents. Prema says, my father and mother are everything for me, and I cannot deny my parents for anything in the world. She says, my parents come first. Right? And Keshav says that I can challenge my father and mother. Keshav says he can stand against his parents for love. Prema says she can't stand against her parents for love. This is the seed of conflict in the story. This is the point of tension in the story. This is the origin of the tension in the story. This is from where whole plot develops. The problems start from this beginning. What beginning? One says, I can't say no to my parent. Another says, I can challenge my parent. I'll stop here. Take a pen. Open a new page. For 5 minutes quickly, write whatever happened in this class today. In 5 minutes, summarize what happened in class today.